see you specifically.
Trying to correct. There
we go.
Hello. Okay,
All
shall
right.
we get started?
Yes, let's go ahead.
Okay, well, hello, middle schoolers. Congratulations on your first place entry in the Gobble Up Turkey Marketing Competition. That was awesome. I know you probably had to work a little bit differently this year than you have in the past. So we're really glad that you got to join us this year and got to compete. And I'm glad you got your fancy lunch today, and you're going to get to talk with some farmers today too. So that's pretty cool. So with us today, we have Diane and Ty Renner. They have a turkey farm in Washington County. So I'm going to turn it over to them, and they're going to show you through the farm. And we'll plan some time for questions and things too, if you have any questions later on. Okay, over to you.
Hi. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Like Christy said, my name's Diane Renner. We live in Washington, Iowa, just 2 miles south of there. It is about 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2.5 hours from you. And so we're a little ways from you. I work off the farm and my husband works on the farm. So I'm going to turn it over to him, and he'll tell you a little bit about what he does.
If I got the mic.
Yes.
Okay. Well, good afternoon. I'm Ty Renner, and welcome to my turkey farm here in Washington, Iowa. I'm a 4th generation farmer and 2nd generation turkey farmer. I'll just give you a kind of a quick overview of what goes on around here because they told me I had a time limit. So I'll get right to it. The scientific part of turkeys is these barns are controlled with computers and all kinds of fancy stuff these days. And right here, this is my computer that controls this barn. It's going to control the temperature in here by turning on the heat, running the fans for ventilation if it gets too warm. Got controls here for opening doors, and then this here is the alarm system. If any one of my barns loses electricity, water pressure goes down, or gets too hot or too cold, it'll call me anytime, day or night, at my cell phone, and I will come out here and correct the problem. So it's kind of a high-tech system anymore. Over here, we keep track of water consumption with a water meter, and that's important to know if the turkeys are feeling good or not. Like I told everybody else, the first thing that's going to happen if birds are sick is the water consumption goes down. The first thing we don't do is eat and drink because we don't feel like it. Well, livestock's the same way. Got this little thing here, it's called a medicator. If I need to vaccinate them or treat them because they're sick, it's done through the water. This straw here draws up the medication out of the bucket and gets injected into their drinking system. So I'm not going to go clear in the building just due to time. And I want to get into my other barn to show you the bigger turkeys. I'm going to stand in the door. I can get my camera to turn around. So these turkeys here are 5 weeks of age. They came in a little crate with 100 birds in a crate on a truck that came from Osceola, Iowa, was where the hatchery was. And every 4 weeks we get a flock of turkeys. This is one of my 2 brooder barns, and the brooder barn is a nursery type of thing where they're only going to be in here for 5 weeks, and we are due to move these out any day now. It's getting postponed a few days. This morning as I was going through here, they seemed like they were just a little off, and they've got a little bit of a cold, so they got a sniffle and a sneeze and a runny nose, and we're going to get the veterinarian here tomorrow and just see if it's truly that or if it's something else we need to be concerned about. So what goes on in here? You see the thing there, it says chore time on it. There's a line down through there and all these different pans. Those turkeys are eating out of those pans right now. Not sure if I can zoom. No, I can't. That's as good as I can zoom in on it. But you can see they're eating feed right now, right there. This thing right here, that red saucer looking funny thing there, is a water line. And there's all these little green cups on there, and all that turkey does is bump that cup like that first one's doing there, and it fills up with water, and that's how they get a drink. Up on the ceiling, we've got heaters. They're tube heat, and the fans kick on. There's a fan over there. There's a little better view of a heater. It's radiant heat, very efficient heat. So we don't burn a lot of LP gas in this building. This building has got a lot of insulation in it, because when we start them out, it's 93 degrees in here to get them started. And as they get older, we slowly bring the temperature down, and it's about 72 degrees, 73 degrees in here today. And they're getting prepared to be in that finishing barn where it's much bigger and be harder to heat. Bedding in here is sawdust. There's one. They're getting a little frisky here. They want to join me inside the doorway here. So do you have any questions so far about these fellas?
Nope. How many turkeys are in that building?
There is currently a little over 7,000 turkeys in here. It kind of looks like there's a lot of open space. There's about 1 square foot per bird in here is how much floor space they've got. Of course, some are kind of napping. They like to huddle up beside each other and take a nap. The veterinarian I mentioned earlier is coming tomorrow. The veterinarian is a doctor for livestock. So she's going to come and take a look at them, and we're going to determine if it's serious or not so serious of an issue to deal with here. Any other questions here?
Nope, not on.
Ty, why don't you head on over to the big barn?
All right, I will do that.
All right. Okay, guys. So let me share with you a little bit about when they come to us. They come to us in a crate that looks just like this picture. There's 100 of them that fit inside this crate right here. And we get 72 of them. So we start off with 7,200 birds, give or take, depending on if they're healthy or sick. So in 5 weeks' time, we've only lost about 100 birds, and that's doing really well. We've had times where we've lost 300 and 500 birds by this point. It just depends on sickness. It depends on the time of year. A lot of things play into that. So we have them that stay on our farm for 19 weeks. Ty is heading over right now to another barn that has bigger turkeys. But when we load out or they leave our farm on a truck that looks like this. It's open, it has wire on the side. When it's cold, we do put panels so they don't get cold. There's about 800 birds that fit on this truck and it's based upon how much the birds actually weigh, because semi-trucks weigh too much on the road. They are loaded out by this loader right here, and it's automatic, and it has a a ramp that goes in and it pushes them in there nicely. And so we don't have to load out anymore by hand. Our turkey meat goes for sliced turkey. Iowa is number 7 in the nation for raising turkeys. And so, but ours down here in Southeast Iowa, and most of the growers in Iowa raise for sliced lunch meat. So then our turkeys go to West Liberty Foods. And so if you eat Subway sandwiches and have turkey meat on your Subway sandwich, 9 times out of 10, it has come from a farm in Iowa and even picked from our farm. Ty is now in the shed, so I'm going to turn it over to him.
Okay, so here's my finishing barn. It's a much bigger building. Now we're dealing with 24,000 square feet worth of space. It's 60 foot wide, 400 foot long. So it looks like it's a long ways to the other end. Doesn't look like there's a lot of room in here, but they've got 4 square feet per bird. Concept here is the same as in the brooder house. Chore time thing there is a feed line where the pans, there's a pan every so many feet for birds to eat out of. And then we got a water line. The cups are all just designed for bigger birds. They'll be in here till they're 19 weeks of age. And this flock here is currently slated to be sold on December 11th, where we hope they will be about 43 or 44 pounds. Lots of questions people ask about these big fellers earlier. You know, what's the red thing underneath their head there? That is called a wattle. And it helps them cool off. So the why they're bright red, and some of those you see are brighter red, all their blood runs through there. And it's cooling them off. Now some of them here, this guy, he's not full strut, but he's getting there. He's fluffing up his feathers. He's gonna start showing off here a little bit. Kind of like this guy over here. When they raise their feathers up like that, they're trying to cool off. He's a little warm. So by doing that, it releases the body heat from them. Here in the back, kind of up on the ceiling right now, we'll let them down in the summertime, but there's extra fans inside this building. And we need to run fans on these just like you and I. We get hot. I don't have an air conditioner in here, so we just have to have the curtains wide open. And if the wind isn't blowing, we create a little extra wind in the summertime. And then we spray them with a mist of water too. And getting that mist of water on their heads when it hits that wattle helps cool them down. So anybody can shout out a question at any time here. I'll just keep going on about what happens.
I might have a question. So do you raise male or female turkeys? And can you talk a little bit about why?
Okay. I have all male turkeys, and the males are called toms. The reason we raise tom turkeys is we're in it for a lot of meat production. And the tom turkeys grow heavier than a hen. Hens are going to be that turkey you have for Thanksgiving. They're smaller in size, and they'll fit in your roasting pan. These guys here, if you tried to put them in your roasting pan, nobody makes one big enough, neither would it fit in your oven. So that's the reason when you go to get a turkey for Thanksgiving, it'll be a hen. So we want lots of meat. This is going to be further processed, like Diane said, and it's going to become sandwich meat. And that's what most of the turkey in Iowa goes for. Some kind of a sliced, they're saying hello to you, a sliced luncheon type of meat. I don't know if my microphone picks it up when they gobble like that, but when you see them stretching out their head, they're gobbling at you. They're saying hello.
I have a question, Ty.
Okay.
Do you need to know math or reading or anything like that when you farm?
I get asked that by a lot of younger kids. Yes, math is very important, and I will even tell you science is rather important. Because there's a lot of science and even some biology that goes along with raising turkeys. But math's important because we're always, figuring up numbers. We got to calculate how many turkeys we're going to sell. We keep records. We've got a record keeping system. So as birds die off, we write it down and we have to calculate how much they're going to weigh. It's like Diane said, I'll get an average weight, and that's to do two things. The plant knows how much meat they got coming at them, and two, how heavy we can load the trucks. Sometimes we're trying to calculate how much feed do they eat, because I need to figure out how much feed I need to get by through a long weekend, such as, feed mill's going to be closed on Thursday here for Thanksgiving. I need to make it through Thanksgiving, or if the holiday happens to be on a weekend. There's a lot of math involved. Science wise, we're trying to figure out, why is a turkey sick? Why isn't a turkey not gaining like they should? So there's a lot of things to it. If it was easy, everybody would do it, is what we always say around here. But any other questions?
What do you feed your turkeys?
So the turkey feed is made up of corn and soybean meal, and then a vitamin and mineral pack. And the turkey's diet is going to change 8 or 9 times through the course of their life. As they're younger, they get a higher protein content. And as they get older, the protein comes down a little bit because they don't need as much protein as they do energy to put on the extra weight. Other questions?
Yeah, this is a family and consumer science class we're talking with. So could we talk a little bit about food safety and how that impacts what you do?
Okay. So as far as food safety goes, some of the things we do before we sell these turkeys is we take fat samples. We got to butcher so many birds and get a sample, and we're cleared of any antibiotics and residue that might be in that turkey that we don't want consumers to hit. So they're going to be cleared of all that before we market them. Then when they get to the West Liberty plant, keeping the birds cooling that meat is a big deal. You got to cool it down by, so many degrees so quickly, and then that makes that meat last longer on the shelf. It's a better product because they don't add so many preservatives. West Liberty Foods has a cooling system that's patented, and they are known to have a better shelf life than a lot of their competitors, just due to the way they cool the meat down as they're processing it. Other things, we have a biosecurity system here. Just to get into my barn, I step into a disinfectant pan, so I killed the germs on my boots before I walked in here. And then I'm going to put on a pair of coveralls and another set of boots to actually walk into the barn. And that's going to prevent the disease from transferring from building to building. So anything we can do to prevent ourselves from having to treat them with antibiotics is a good thing, because they're expensive. And obviously when you've treated them, then that's less profit in the end. This is my last conventional flock of turkeys I will have for a while, and the flock we just seen, those little guys, are going to be raised antibiotic free. So there will never be an antibiotic in them from day one until they go to market. Those are
Can-
good questions.
Can you tell us about why you decided to go to antibiotic free? What was the thought there?
So the deciding factor was this. A number of years ago, the guy that I used to work for, he raised some antibiotic-free turkeys, and there was only a handful of us that did it. There was a market that West Liberty Foods was trying to fill, and so this was just to fill that market. Unfortunately, after 2 years, that particular market dried up. But we've got a new antibiotic-free market now, a new consumer, new or different customer, I mean. And so there is a little bit of an incentive. There's 5 more cents per pound added on to the turkeys versus these guys. So it's a little bit about money. Anything to help cash flow. I just bought this farm 2 years ago, so anything to help increase my bottom line is a good thing. And the other thing is, I already know how to do it because we've done it once before. So we kind of know the tricks behind it. Any other questions? Turkey's hollering at you. They're gobbling. They like you. They're showing off.
We have a question for you.
Okay.
How come after it's done getting processed, how is it so smooth?
Oh, like the deli meat? you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so you understand that question? He's wondering why. So we just had this great turkey lunch and it's sliced turkey. And he's wondering why is deli turkey meat kind of smooth like?
The deli meat is smooth. Couple reasons. They cook it in a big log so they can slice it. So for example, when you go to Subway and you order a turkey sandwich, all those pieces are the exact same diameter. They cooked that into a log that's 6 foot long. So it's all been ground up, pushed into a big tube like a sausage, and then it's also smooth going the other direction because of the knife or the slicing machine they use. It does a very even job so that the slices are all they're very thin and they're the same thickness because they want consistency. That's a good question. I've never had that asked before.
What's the going rate per pound for a turkey that you sell?
Going rate per pound, these guys here sell for about 60 cents a pound live. There are a few incentives on top of that as we sell them. As long as we don't bruise them up and have a lot of issues when we're loading them. And the condems are very, very low. You know, after they process the birds, they can see any bruises or damage done to the birds, you know, from either birds jumping and they smack their wing on something, or they can tell if it was a loader or if it was in the live haul. They'll cut out little chunks of bruises and that goes into my condem. So if that's very low, then I get an additional incentive.
So for example, if we sold a 42-pound bird and multiplied that by 60 cents, that's $25 a bird. That doesn't take into account feed cost or LP, any of those
Sawdust.
things. Sawdust. I mean, that's just straight up $25 a bird. Then you start taking off everything. You start taking off the cost of feed, the cost of sawdust. If you had to give them some electrolytes, sometimes we have to give them electrolytes, which is the Gatorade. Take that into account. The cost of the vet coming, that needs to come out of the cost of that, the profit of that flock. So a lot of things go into an account. So don't think we get $25 a bird. We don't. That's just where we start off, and then we start taking things out.
The feed cost is the biggest cost of raising any kind of livestock, and that's about 70% of the input costs to raising turkeys is just the feed. So other things I've got going on as I'm standing here in my office looking in here, my medicator's running. We're worming these guys today, and it's a water-based wormer. So again, the sciencey side of things is you got to keep the worms out of them to keep them growing big. I had a flock last month. We couldn't figure out why. They just didn't seem to be right. And the veterinarian came and she says, "When did you worm them?" I said, "Or have you wormed them?" She goes, "They're full of worms." So we had to worm them a second time because the first time didn't work so well. We do things, we've got electrolytes we give them in the summertime when it's hot. Electrolytes are like you and I drinking Gatorade. We've got a product in here called Aflorin, which if they got a cold or something, it is just like Vicks Vapor Rub. You take the cap off of that, and that's just exactly what it smells like. So that helps them out with a snick or a snort. There's other things. I got stuff that they need a little pick-me-up because they're just feeling kind of blah. I got a stuff called LC Energy, and it's like you and me drinking Red Bull. Just gives them a little energy.
All right, Ty. Well, I think it's time because I do believe that kiddos need to get to class soon.
Very good. Well, see you later, Waverly. I'm glad you came to see us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And eat
Thank you very much for
plenty
your
of
time.
turkey
We
for
appreciate you both,
Thanksgiving.
Diane and Ty.
Thank you.
And congratulations again to the Waverly Shell Rock students. Good work.
Yeah.